Hello. Today is, what day is it? It's Tuesday, August 1st, 2023. And I think the stream could really use some intro music. I'm gonna like, I guess, improve or change up. I don't know. I'm gonna do a lot after, I guess, in 2 weeks, because next week I'm moving apartments, and it's not gonna be like a big ordeal, and the room I use for filming and streaming now will kind of be exactly the same. The only difference is there might be less other stuff in it, so it will be easier. Whatever, everything's gonna be cool after that. Um, and I should make a separate video about tips for moving, because, yeah, I got ideas. But today is the news. Not not a whole lot of like news going on in the past week, which I guess honestly, like, not having a crisis every week is a nice thing about living in Korea, whereas in the US it's like every single day, and all the big crises get forgotten after like a few days because the next one comes around. And like, I am totally okay with Korea not like going nuts all the time over some new political issue. But what that also means is that newspapers and news publications really have to stretch to find stuff to write about, which is kind of the theme for this week. Well, there's some important issues, but some filler too. But I'm interested by how they choose their filler. So let's dive into the first thing we have here is more serious. All right. So, okay. I guess this has been going on for a few weeks. Well, in reality, this has been going on for decades. The bullying of teachers enters policy dialogue in Korea by the Korea Herald. Um, well, I'll cover the main issue, and then I want to highlight the really important part. The recent suicide of a newly employed teacher who is believed to have suffered from bullying by parents as well as overwork has sparked a dialogue in Korea to come up with policies to respond to the widespread bullying of teachers in public schools. Okay, one, it's not one suicide. It's one recent suicide. I'm sure there's been plenty that stem from this kind of bullying, but the issue, it's worth highlighting that this one particular suicide has kicked off a political debate about how to address this issue. And I think this is like really important and speaks really well of Korea as, regardless of what political divisions there are, that people are intent on tackling real problems. Whereas in the US, whenever there's any kind of like death or tragedy, at least half the country shrug their shoulders, and the other half uh, either feigns being able to do nothing or really can't do anything because they don't have enough support. Whereas here, legislators are really looking at like what they can do to address this. Um, Leading officials from the ruling People Power Party met with Minister of Education Lee Joo-ho on Wednesday to discuss measures to protect teachers from harassment and violence perpetrated by both parents and students. Now, the People Power Party, which is President Yoon's party, they do not control the legislature. So it's a good thing if they are meeting with the administrative branch, because I imagine the political left in the assembly also wants to do something about this. So like, this speaks to the likelihood that something like they'll address this in some way. At our public schools, the bullying of teachers is more prevalent than it is talked about, he told reporters. He said that teachers in the field were complaining of having to deal with complaints from aggressive parents, which discouraged them I guess the teachers, from addressing disruptive student behavior in classrooms to responding to violence, sometimes violence directed against themselves. Um, I have not taught in Korea, so I don't know firsthand, what this is really like. I have friends who teach, but I haven't heard secondhand from them about this kind of stuff. But um, in movies and TV shows, Korean media, like you do see this kind of thing play out. You see students being aggressive with teachers, and I imagine that's because it's a real thing. I have no reason to doubt that. And it is probably much more prevalent than is reported because like imagine you're a teacher and you're being bullied by like high school kids, junior high kids, like there's some shame involved. Um, I feel like I want to bring this up even though it's tangential, but just this year I played a video game called Lost Judgment, which is Japanese, takes place in Japan, about it centers around bullying bullying of teachers and students in a Japanese high school. And like I at least in terms of the way the high school system is set up, I think Korea and Japan have a lot more similarities than Korea and other countries. And like it was I was kind of impressed that they made an entire video game that centers around that theme, and it made me think that like this is something that goes on a lot in Korea and Japan that just isn't being addressed as much as it should be. According to a survey of almost 2,400 elementary teachers released Tuesday, 99.2% responded that they had experienced rights infringements at work. That could cover a range of types of infringements. The type of rights infringements most frequently experienced by teachers was unjustified complaints from parents. The survey taken by um that so I don't know the extent of bullying of teachers by parents, but I guess that depends on how you classify bullying because it's known that like in general, teachers and even like the principals of schools, like of hagwons, of private schools, if there's, if we're talking about a school where there's not that many staff, they are kind of at the mercy of parents to the extent that like if the parents are paying for their kids to go there, the parents are very like insistent about what kind of education they want the kids to have or like how they want the kids to be treated. Like this is well known. Like I've heard stories of that. To the extent that that qualifies as bullying, I'm not sure. I mean, I can imagine that like some really insane, probably fathers have like physically threatened teachers who try to punish their kids for whatever reason. Um, but yeah, unjustified complaints like that could mean anything. That could mean just like parents wanting something that like just isn't in the teacher's capacity to provide or it just seems unethical for them to do. But I totally believe that almost all teachers have experienced something like that to some degree. He said school violence was not limited to violence among students, which is also a problem. Physical, verbal violence against teachers by students or parents is also school violence, correct? By failing to take initiatives to protect teachers from bullying, Korean public education was failing students, he said. Schools cannot be safe for students if they're not safe for teachers, true. I don't really know what they can do. I don't. So like Korea has lots of CCTV, like public security cameras all over the place. Outside buildings, like on with street lamps and stuff. In my apartment complex, there are, I guess, like one camera for every hallway, maybe two, a camera in the elevator. Like there's cameras everywhere. I would hope that there's cameras in schools, I guess. I guess it seems logical to the extent that there are cameras pretty much everywhere else. Um, but I don't actually know when it comes to cameras in schools. But it seems like that would be a way to deal with some of this, because then you got the evidence on camera. Um, he said that protecting teachers against violence did not mean the return of corporal punishment in schools. So, like, that corporal punishment was made illegal, I want to say a decade ago or less. It was legal here for a long time. And I'm sure some teachers still practice it, but legally they are not supposed to. And yeah. So basically saying, like, we can't combat the bullying of teachers by students by allowing teachers to get physically violent with the students again. That makes sense. You got to figure out some other way. Policy responses proposed at Wednesday's meeting include building a system for managing complaints from parents. I guess if there's a way to, like, to filter, to filter parents' complaints, like to separate the teacher and parents so that they don't have to directly interact, and like to kind of make a record, even if it's not on camera, of like what the parent complaint is. That would lead to more accountability. Developing procedures for investigating reports of the bullying of teachers. I mean, that's kind of very broad. On July 18th, a junior teacher in her 20s took her own life at an elementary school in Socho, a district in southern Seoul. While police have yet to identify evidence of bullying or workplace harassment, the city teachers union claims she has been targeted by parents. That paragraph should be like the opening paragraph. Yeah, that's weird. Otherwise, good article summarizing the issue. It just strikes me that if you have video evidence of this stuff, you have a way to hold people accountable. I guess it's worth looking into whether schools have that already in place, because that would be the first thing you would look for. And in the video game I mentioned, that's the first thing they do. Well, there are not cameras in the school, so they set up their own like spy cameras to catch the bullies in the act. I did not get that idea from the game. It's just the first thing I thought of. All right, this is a theme that we're going to be coming back to over and over and over again, because it is one of the biggest issues in Korea. This is, well, I guess it is the most accurate way to do the title. Korea's indigenous population shrinks below 50 million. I've just never really seen Koreans, ethnic Koreans, referred to as the indigenous population, but it's not wrong. This is by the Chosun Ilbo. We got 2 articles by them covering, sort of talking about the same topic to different extents. Korea's population continued to shrink for a second year in 2022, but the drop was not as steep in 2021 due to the increase in foreign residents as lockdown ended. Hey, how about that? Foreigners are almost maintaining the population. According to Statistics Korea, the country's total population shrank by 0.1% to 51.69 million last year, after falling for the first time the previous year. I mean, because of the low birth rate, the population was always expected to decline at some point, and the foreigners leaving Korea during the last 3 years pushed it over the edge to start falling. So in 2022, it fell, like throughout 2022, it fell again, but only by 0.1%. While Koreans dwindled by 0.3% to 49.94 million last year, the number of foreign residents jumped 6%. that's a huge increase because they came back after the end of all the stuff, which I don't want to say because YouTube likes to flag those words. Yeah, so the foreign population increased, the native Korean population decreased slightly. Yep, I said that. The foreign population in Korea is overwhelmingly young, with 28% in their 30s, 24% in their 20s, 16% in their 40s. That means most are of working age. Hey, listen to that. We got workers who want to come over to Korea. Wow, that would solve problems that Korea is currently facing or about to face. Korea's indigenous population, by contrast, continued to age with 18% now over 65, up 4 percentage points from 5 years ago. I guess it seems like a lot. And it's also people working over 65 also mean that they probably can't afford to retire, most of them. I guess some are bored. I've heard of. I mean, my dad is like that. He's like, what would I do if I retired? Yeah. Naturalized Koreans or foreign spouses of local citizens increased 21% from 5 years ago, and around 4% compared to a year ago. Some 32% were ethnic Koreans from China, 22% Vietnamese, 19% Chinese. That is a naturalized Koreans or foreign okay. Does that mean more residents became naturalized? I guess so. Or people married. I thought I read it was a different article. It said something like that there were the number of foreign brides, like contributes greatly to the foreigner population. But Americans made up most members of multicultural families, followed by Canadians and Taiwanese, and 33% lived in Gyeonggi. Hello. Oh, I'm not a multicultural family. That is interesting that most of these, well, it depends on what they mean families. Do they mean just a multicultural wedded couple, or do they mean with children? Maybe children, because I have to imagine that there are so many. Well, it says like so many come from China, Vietnam. Well, it said ethnic Koreans from China. I don't know. It would be nice if they had a chart of all these numbers, but in any case, yeah, foreign populations can help offset the native Korean decline, because when the government does stuff like this, government to pay more for fertility treatment, childbirth, it's not enough. More infertile couples will be able to get subsidies for fertility treatments regardless of their income. The government decided to expand support by removing income criteria. Currently, some cities limit support to those who earn less than the median. Couples planning for pregnancy will also get up to, this is like $100 with exchange rate less than $100 for ovarian reserve tests, and up to, this is like $50 or less. When they use frozen eggs, around $300 to $500 will be offered for each procedure. Well, that's more substantial. But like, these are not large amounts. Like, if I don't particularly want my own kids, I mean, I'm okay with nieces and nephews, but like, if they were trying to convince me, hey, start a family, it's like, you're gonna help me out with like 150, like that's not enough. Give me like free diapers for 3 years. Medical expense vouchers for pregnant women will be 1 million won per fetus. I mean, it's a more substantial number than what we saw above, but that's still like the equivalent of $1,000 or less. And like, given how much medical treatment, an entire pregnancy requires, it's still nothing. Whereas now mothers expecting one baby get 1 million, but those twins or triplets only get really? If you're having twins, you only get 1.4. That's ridiculous. Women will also be able to apply for reduced working hours from 32 weeks after pregnancy, a month earlier than current 30. Like, these are like small scraps. Like, yes, it's good that they're moving this direction, but like, this is not drastic enough to encourage anyone to change their decisions. This is nothing. Like I said last week in a video, you can't convince like Koreans to have more families and more kids when like this is the most that you're gonna offer them. Like, it's got to be a complete restructuring of society, because people don't want kids. You gotta like start make give them a reason to want kids, not just like, hey, if you happen to have them, you get a little bit of money. Not enough. All right. This article by Hankore is weird. I'm gonna actually start toward the bottom because it's written in a weird way, but it is a weird issue. I don't know how prevalent it is in society. I have to imagine not that much. Again, summertime, so they kind of have to dig for. Well, this is back from May because I couldn't actually find anything that's scandalous recently. That's how far I had to go back. Korea wants to use foreign women as underpaid domestic servants. It's a bit sensationalistic because that's not the whole thing. Let's start down here. The Korean government is moving quickly. This sounds like the intro paragraph. Why isn't this at the beginning? The Korean government, is moving quickly to make it easier for Korean families to hire domestic workers from abroad. The idea was first proposed last year by Seoul Mayor Oh Se-hoon. Then Cho Jong-hoon, a lawmaker with the minor Transition Korea Party, I don't know who they are, it must be very minor, submitted a bill this past March that would exclude foreign housekeepers from legally mandated minimum wage, and President Yoon Suk-yeol instructed officials to look into implementing the idea on a trial basis. The main appeal emphasized by the government is that foreign housekeepers and nannies could be hired on the cheap. The benchmark here is Singapore, which began allowing migrant domestic workers in 1978, but that program wasn't launched in response to a low birth rate, nor has fertility increased in Singapore since then. Nevertheless, advocates of the migrant domestic program have begun promoting it as if it were the only solution to Korea's low birth rate. Okay, so it's sort of the same issue that I was just talking about the shrinking population. But this is just kind of insane. Like, the whole minimum wage thing has been a big issue for the last decade, I guess. And the minimum wage in Korea has risen quite a bit. I think I haven't been following because I don't make the minimum wage, and I don't look into minimum wage jobs. Mostly, I guess, apply to migrant workers, basically like workers who come over on temporary work visas and work in factories and work for really low pay and send the money back to their home countries where it's still like the equivalent. The exchange rate is favorable for them. So I guess conservatives, I assume conservatives don't like the increasing minimum wage and want to make it legal to pay people less. So that's like the obvious impetus behind this. But then, I mean, I don't know how popular this is because we got like the mayor who's conservative and the president who's conservative, and then like this one dude from this minor party. Like if the People Power Party, which is the main big conservative party, starts to champion this, then we could start to worry about it. But then there's this whole thing like that program wasn't launched in response to a low birth rate. Like they really think, like, I guess it would allow parents, they wouldn't have to take care of the chores and raising kids at home, and they could afford someone to do that. But like that, I don't want my own kids, and like I'm not going to be like, hey, maybe I should have kids because I can exploit this person from overseas to take care of my kids so I can do other stuff. That's not a motivating factor. I mean, I hope it's not for most people. And advocates of the program have been promoting it as if it were the only solution to this sounds like a bit of editorializing by this dude. I mean, because he's not quoting anyone. And then the rest of the article talks about like the history of migrant workers, which is weird. And it's weird that it starts in Japan in April 1983. Well, about a drama, and then 1907. I don't care about what they did with housemaids and migrant workers a century ago. Like this seems not practical now. In 1969, 53% of Seoul families had a housemaid, but those would have been domestic Koreans, and probably not much of a minimum wage at this time, so people were still being exploited. And these women had to contend with insults, beatings, and sometimes assault. I just don't see an upside to this. This is thankfully, like, if I could only find out about this from going back to May, hopefully nobody's talking about it now. Yeah, let's hope that we can continue to ignore this. The Korea Herald writes about facial recognition system implemented at Incheon Airport. Now, I thought Incheon has already implemented this. I feel like they've been using this the last few times I was there, but only over the past couple of years. Because I did not travel for like almost 2 years for obvious reasons. I want to talk about this because it's a bit of a well, it's not increasing at the right dimensions. It's about privacy issues, but I'm kind of split. Incheon Airport said it had begun utilizing pre-registered facial information to streamline the departure process for passengers from Friday. Again, I thought they were already doing this, at least in the immigration section. Dubbed the Facial Recognition Smart Pass service, the newly launched service will allow passengers to quickly pass through the identification process at departure and boarding gates without having to show their passports and boarding passes to security personnel. The service is available at 6 departure gates. Again, I think it was everywhere. Eventually, it'll be everywhere in April 2025. I thought it already was. The airport aims to eliminate the repetitive process of travel document examinations for staff and customers. thought they already did. Yeah. So, what's it? 20 years ago, we had Minority Report, the movie where like they scan faces everywhere and you get like advertisements no matter where you are, like in a mall or on the subway or something, targeting you based on recognizing your face and knowing who you are, knowing what you like, knowing your shopping history. That stuff could become like reality literally any day if companies were allowed to implement it. And I don't want that. Like, I don't want facial recognition stuff anywhere else, but at airports, I'm okay with it because it really makes things a lot faster. And that I feel like that's the main objective of airports, is to make the whole process faster and smoother and more comfortable. And Incheon Airport is already like pretty great in terms of, I don't know, the experience, and compared to every single like American airport. And yeah, like I always arrive like super early at airports because they're like, gotta arrive early just in case. Check-in takes a while. Check-in can still take a while. But security and immigration leaving the airport and I guess returning has become super fast because of the facial stuff. I guess the difference is, yeah, they when you come back to Korea, yeah, they do you do your finger, your index fingers, your fingerprint, and then they do take a picture of your face, but was it like, were they, I thought they already did it. Whatever. Maybe it's just a new algorithm, new system. I'm okay with it in airports, just in this one respect. I guess it'd be cool if they figure out a way to like help you identify when your luggage is coming out by scanning your face. I don't really want them to like scan your face and tell you where your gate is, or like try to herd you to your gate, because I like walking around the airport sometimes. Or I guess it would be helpful when you arrive and you need public transportation to take you back, and it'll say like when I got back the last time, it was the first time I took a bus back to Anyang, because I noticed like the buses going back were less frequent than the buses going there. But I had missed the first, or like, no, the next bus was all full. And so I had to wait like an hour for the bus after that. But like, if they scanned your face and you got like a notification on your phone, like, oh, the next bus you would want to take leaves at this time, or you could take the train and subway, and like it'll take you this long. That would be useful. I don't know. Just keep this technology at airports. I don't really want them other places. Yeah. Mm. So this is a kind of summer filler article because it's really not important, but it gives me an excuse to talk about how great Korean ice cream is. Like, seriously. South Korea's exports of ice cream achieve record high in H1. Is that like quarter one? I don't know. This is by Yonhap News. Like, yeah, I'm gonna go into stuff about Korean ice cream. I love. Okay. South Korea's exports of ice cream reached a record high in the first half. Oh, half one. Okay. Of 2023, data showed Friday, on the back of the growing popularity of Korean entertainment across content across the globe, outbound shipments of ice cream and other ethical ice products reached US 59 million. That doesn't seem too much compared to, well, I guess it's cheap. That is one of the reasons I like it so much. Up almost 20% from a year earlier. That's a big leap, I think, according to data. Figure almost doubled South Korea's ice cream imports, which came to 30 million. So yeah, like people here still like there's Haagen-Dazs, Ben and Jerry, what's it, the 30, Baskin Robbins, yeah. There's Dove. There's all the big brands. We have them here. They're more expensive. I guess I'll address that soon. People like a wide variety of ice cream, but I don't think people need to choose outside of Korean ice cream. Exports gained ground as demand for snacks to cope with the scorching heat rose, coupled with the popularity of Korean cultural content. I was gonna say I think all those sales are from me, but but these are exports. Shipments to the United States accounted for the largest volume. Man, like if I could get Korean ice cream when I go back, that'd be great. Exports to China more than doubled. Exports to Philippines and Canada accounted for a lot. South Korea imported 12 million worth of such products from France and Thailand. This picture is important. Oh, that's it. Okay, now we can talk about this. So this photo is from like a typical self-service ice cream shop. These have been popping up around in the past. I want to say 5 years. I want to say 5 years ago, I barely ever ate ice cream. I just had no appetite for ice cream. And for some reason, one day I decided I wanted to start eating ice cream. Korean ice cream, like if you go to one of these shops, or I guess a small grocery store, maybe even the big grocery stores, are now the prices jumped a little earlier this year, but still most of them are less than 1,000 won, which is less than $1, and each ice cream bar ranges roughly from like 100 to 300 calories depending on what you get. So they're satisfactory. Some can be super filling. A lot of them are now like 1,200 won, but still worth the price, because if you go to like a regular ice cream shop, it'll be like 5,000 won, like $5 for a scoop and a cone. And yes, those are, I don't know if you would call them fresher, but like these in these like refrigeration units, they are usually good. You get the stuff with the cones are still like really crispy, not that soggy. I'm gonna show some pictures of ice cream. If you go to like a regular convenience store like GS25, almost all the stuff they sell there is at least 1,000 won. Sometimes it'll be a markup of the stuff you can get here cheaper, or sometimes it'll just be more expensive brands like Hershey and Oreo. They're good too, but they're not domestic. Let's see. This is a sampling of typical Korean ice cream. Do I like any of these? I don't like any of these particular brands. These Subak Jaws, they're like just ice bars. These are sort of like the Nukba, sort of peanutty, I think. Is it nougat or whatever? And this is just kind of like a lame, like, these are not my favorite. Let's see some good ones. Yeah, you got the corn flavor ice cream. I have not tried it because I'm never in the mood for corn. You got the fish, what do you call those? They sell them on the street, but these are like ice cream variety with red bean stuff inside. Oh, here's one. There are multiple varieties of these. They are generally good. Which one's this? This is the ice cream sandwich. These are good. They have a few varieties. They have like strawberry flavor. Eh, oh, the wild body. This is supposedly like these are, I guess, very old. Like Dredgy Bar and the Wild Bar. Like it's coffee flavor and there's sort of like a strawberry thing inside, like a coating. Very classic and old and very cheap and still very good. Like I will regularly have all three of these. What else we got here? Melon, yeah. These tend to be like ice bars. Uh, oh yeah, yeah. These they have. Whoops! I opened the whole website. You're gonna go over some of them. These are like how do you? They're like a pouch, and they're hard at first, and you like squeeze them and crush the ice so it becomes sort of like a slushy, and then you suck it out of that. But they're really good too. Yeah, not interested. Yep, the classic. I've never seen that wrapper. It looks like that. It's good, but it crumbles very easily. This is good, and it's got like little duck things inside, like that. Yep, that thing comes out like that. I don't. Oh, I think I had that once. No, I did not like this. This was too weird. Not a fan. Yeah, just my apartment. So like there has been a one of those self-service ice cream shops 3 minutes walking distance from my apartment complex, which I went to all of last year. And then one just opened in this complex. It has basically all the same stuff. I mean it's good stuff. I would like to try other things, but I'm very grateful that it's here. Is that oh, I've never actually seen that. That's not appetizing. It's corn. This cookies and cream, it's fine, but they've introduced like a tiramisu flavor, which is really good, and a caramel flavor, which is good. Oh, I didn't know they served like a pint of it. That's dangerous, but probably cheap, which makes it more dangerous. There's a lot. Oh, these world in terms of like the cones, these are the best like cone types. Megatone. I've never tried it. I've seen it. Got more of the world's. Oh, I've never seen cherry. I would try that. I am not a sweet potato fan. I don't want to try that. The wild bar, yes. Very good coffee flavor. I don't know. I'm going to enjoy Korean ice cream as long as it's as super cheap as it is. Like everything went up like 1 or 200 won this past year, but still very cheap. Korean ice cream's great, and I hope Americans get to enjoy it now. And I did not turn on that text. Oh well. All right, we're in like the no important news period of summer, which means that the Korea Herald is publishing like absolute filler and doing free advertising for both BTS and Samsung Galaxy. Like, I just want to examine this because this is what they consider this a real business article. Like, this is literally just like Samsung's advertisements, just free promotion. But I guess people will click on it because it says BTS in the title and it's got a big picture. Like, he's the first to use a new model, the fifth iteration of a flip phone. Like, or a fold. What do you call them? Fold phones? I've seen them. I mean, they fold. I don't want a fold phone. Suga of K-pop phenomenon BTS has become the first user. Has become. He went through a long process and he became the first user of Samsung Electronics' latest foldable phone. The tech giant said. They told us this and we reported it because they said so. Samsung Electronics said Suga will be the first in the world, wow, for like 30 seconds until the second person gets to use the phone, to own a Galaxy Z Fold 5. Don't write it like that. That's almost as bad as like the typical K-pop group names. Now, via a post on Twitter now called X. I don't even want to get into that, but that is funny to see how they're going to be handling the name change. Held for the first time in Seoul, the Samsung Unpacked event saw extra excitement. Ooh, extra excitement. And wonder to the already awe-inspiring event. Was it where else was it before? Why was it awe-inspiring? When one of our favorites, Suga BTS, came, you're going to have to change his TWT, came to join the flip side. Wait, so I said flip phone before, but it's fold phone, whatever. The tech giant also posted a photo of Suga and Samsung's mobile chief, Roh Tae-moon, posing with the Galaxy Z Fold 5 smartphone together. It seems that Suga received the latest device when he attended the Galaxy Unpacked event held at COEX. Yeah, what do you mean it seems? They said that. Are you saying they said it and then you went there to check for yourself whether it was true? A day after the Korea Herald exclusively reported that he would appear at the venue. Ooh, you got the exclusive to say that a guy's going to be at a place. That's some hard-hitting news. That I don't read the Korea Herald much. And not because articles like this, just they're like, I like the honesty in the bias of Chosun and Hankyoreh. And I guess Yonhap is really good at being straight news, but Korea Herald doesn't do much for me. Samsung has maintained close ties with BTS, with the band appearing in promotional videos and photos for its flagship phone. Suga has also shown his special affection for Samsung on his first world tour as a solo artist in New Jersey. That is definitely a paragraph. The rapper and producer offered to take selfies with fans using their smartphones, but only with Samsung Galaxy phones. Okay. I mean, yeah, it's a Galaxy event, but I'm just kind of imagining him there being like, "You got an iPhone?" No. He has emphasized his preference for Galaxy over iPhone, saying, "I've been paid to do so. Please give me only Galaxy, no iPhone." Like, Korea, I mean, okay, domestically, I guess Korea has a iPhone problem in that Koreans overwhelmingly prefer iPhone compared to Galaxy or other, like, Korean brands. Okay, I mean, I don't use Apple devices. I've always had a Galaxy, and my current phone and my previous phone, I think I'm still using like one of the it was like S10e, and before that I had an S6 or something. Both of them, the battery, after a year of use, the battery started to bloat, and the casing of the phone started to come unattached because the battery was going to explode, and I had to go to the service center and they changed the battery. But that means now I'm using a weaker battery because the originals were much stronger, and they exchanged the battery for free or for cheap, but it's not a good battery. And yet I keep buying Galaxies despite the battery's tendency to want to explode. But I don't know. Besides that, I'm fine with it. I mean, I besides my current battery, and I guess I'm starting to use up the hard drive, but this is like 4 generations old, and it's still fine. I'm not here to promote Samsung Galaxy. I'm just saying I have been using it. But get in touch, and maybe I will promote you for free. For not for free, for stuff. Whatever. But this is a real article, a real news business article that a paper is publishing. It's just free advertisement for Samsung. Good for them. Uh, like this is what happens when there's no real news. I don't want there to be like real serious news, but then I feel like the newspapers will disappear if this is all they have to report. Although maybe there's enough BTS fans that they'll all click on this and Korea Herald will get to make some more ad revenue. I don't know how any of this works, but like look at this latest news. Peru looks for new era of bilateral ties with Korea. That not interesting. North Korea frequently releases water from dam. Okay. Prosecutors seek arrest warrants for 2 lawmakers. Okay. Just nothing's happening these days. But I think that's good. I really can't make up my mind on this, can I? But that's all the news for this week. Maybe next week, instead of ice cream, we'll get to talk about some other like baked goods or something. All right. So long.